All right, so Matthew, let's wrap this one up with our final topic of the day. One Piece is back. One Piece is back in circulation. Oda has graced us with his presence, and I think the last time before he went on break, he gave us Luffy's bounty, which went up to 3 billion, I think. And
his elevation to a
Law and Kid also are 3 billion. But yeah, the big thing was that
Luffy is now an emperor of the sea.
He is a Yonko, and then the other one was, Buggy is also an emperor of the sea. So,
which, as we talked about, that's solely about influence. Buggy was able to build this reputation and empire, and to the point where he was able to be considered an emperor, whereas Luffy, it's a combination of things, partially because of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, but Luffy's actually earned it.
Right. Like all the things that he's done over the course of the series. So, real quick, we'll get into chapter 1054, which was last week, and then chapter 1055, which was this week. So, I think the big confrontation that we've been seeing in both these chapters is the fact that Admiral Rokugyu, aka Green Bull, has come to Wano and
took out the remnants of the
of the Beast Pirates. But then we got the samurai of Wano are trying to stand up to him because they are determined to not let Luffy get captured by Rokugyu. So,
but also the fact that they felt they need, in order to prove
themselves,
Momonosuke in particular, they needed to prove themselves that they would be able to protect the country by themselves.
Right. So you've got that, and during that, one of the things that we found was that I think, he's got the thing called the Mori Mori no Mi, so he is a Logia user, and I think there was, what people thought was a joke was the fact that when he had seen Fujitora the one time, and he said that he hadn't eaten in 3 years. Well, the reason why is because he can suck the nutrients out of either things or people, which seems kind of similar to Charlotte Smoothie and her being able to suck the juices out of people, so that she can like have a drink or something like that. So kind of a weird one. But one thing we did notice was that Rokugyu is playing into Oda's MO of portraying the admirals in One Piece, is that he is modeled after a famous, old school Japanese actor, or based on his, based on a character that actor might have played. And so in the case of Rokugyu, and so Rokugyu's actual name is Aramaki, and I think that is actually connected to his inspiration. So if I'm looking at it, so I'm looking at the One Piece Wikipedia right now, and Rokugyu is based on the late Japanese actor Yoshio Harada, and Harada portrayed a character named Aramaki in the film Ronin Gai, which also starred Kunie Tanaka and Shintaro Katsu, on whom the admirals Kizaru and Fujitora are also based on. So, again, got to give it to Oda, how he likes to, that's the thing that's really interesting about Oda, is how he throws real-world influences into the series. I think that's one of the things I find endearing about One Piece, is how, he's able to kind of throw these little tidbits in there from time to
And
time.
it makes it more relatable.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. One of the things also is we were finding is that so in chapter 1054, the red-haired pirates have come to
Parked outside
Wano,
Wano.
and so it's like, well, what's going to happen in chapter 1055, which we'll get to in a moment. But I think the big thing that that brought out a lot of answers was the fate of Sabo after he had been at the Reverie. And we're finding that so the newspapers were, the story that the newspapers were running, which had shocked a lot of people, especially the Revolutionary Army. They're trying to, if you remember, Dragon was trying to tell all his people to call, the other revolutionaries that were based around the world to confirm the reports that the I think it's called the World Economic Journal or whatever, from the bird guy,
Big
the
News
bird guy
Morgan.
running it. And so what has happened? Apparently, the newspapers are running with that Sabo assassinated Nefertari Cobra.
I'm gonna make a prediction, and I'm gonna make a prediction. I think there's a false flag attack. Cobra was always a problem. He was sympathetic to He was secretly sympathetic to Luffy. He was always a benevolent leader. It's like he has it's like and Sabo had no reason to assassinate him. It may look like it, but he had no reason to assassinate him. I think this is a false flag attack. World government sent a CP agent in secret and posed as a revolutionary and killed Cobra. I think this is a false flag attack.
Another thing about that is, the Gorose, who are
the leaders of the world government.
Well, not only are they the leaders of the world government, but they're also celestial dragons. And Cobra had asked for an audience with them because he wanted to know things about the Void Century, or he had some questions. And so it would seem like if Cobra truly is dead, that he dug a little too deep into the rabbit hole.
For all we know, one of the guys in that meeting basically pulled out a weapon and said, "You're sorry, you got to be offed."
Right. So the Gorose, were obviously, I mean, if like you said, if you're correct that it was a false flag operation, then it definitely came from the Gorose, who are technically the supreme authority in the One Piece world. But, so what's going to happen? And then the other thing is that Vivi has disappeared. So what's going to become of that? And could it be that Sabo kidnapped her, but maybe saved her from getting assassinated herself?
Yeah, I think so here's what probably happened. Like I said, I think it was a false flag attack. I think that that the world government had Cobra assassinated and then claimed that it was Sabo. One thing to remember, Im was looking at the posters,
right,
of what was it, Blackbeard,
Vivi. I think he had Shirahoshi in there too.
Yeah, he did.
And then Luffy.
So I'm pretty sure he wanted, just from the way that they put it, he probably ordered that Vivi got offed. Right. But in order to do that, they needed to do other things as well. So they probably were going to try to kill both Cobra and Vivi and claim that it was an assassination by the Revolutionary Army. But
try to turn the tides.
Right, but things went south. The revolutionaries save Vivi, knowing that, well, Sabo especially, because he's like, oh, she's aligned with, my sworn brother, so I need to save her.
Right, right. So, but here's kind of the ironic thing, that possibly backfired on the world government if they were trying to turn public opinion against Sabo and the Revolutionary Army, is you can see in some of these panels in the chapters that they're celebrating Sabo, and he's almost as famous as Luffy because of the actions he took, and that's probably because some of these countries have been liberated by the Revolutionary Army. And did Sabo have a hate for all the for all the 20 families? Because they probably know that the Nefertari family was one of the 20 families, but they're the only one to not go to Marie Joie, to become celestial dragons. So they are considered lower kin by the Celestials. But, so it's kind of interesting. What is the perspective of Sabo versus the perspective of, what other people think about it?
Well, another thing that was revealed was that the whole point of the revolutionaries in Marie Joie was to save Bartholomew Kuma, which they did.
Right. So now the interesting thing is, so he's been completely, transformed. He's a cyborg under the control of the world government. So how will they be able to get through to him, if at all?
Yeah, like how did they get him away?
Because they certainly don't have Vegapunk, because Vegapunk is protected by the world government and the Marines. It's not like, because my thought is that Vegapunk is probably the only one who holds the key to, if Bartholomew Kuma's condition is reversible, only Vegapunk would have the key to unlocking, the reversal process, if it's possible. That would be my opinion on that. So, and then obviously Shanks at the end of 1054 decides it's time for him to go after the One Piece. Because he's telling Ben Beckman that. So
it would make sense, considering that Ben Beckman is his
right-hand man. Exactly.
And they've probably spent the most time together.
So if we get into chapter 1055, so the battle between the Akazaya and Momonosuke is, them fighting Green Bull is continuing, and Green Bull does seem to have the upper hand with his, devil fruit powers. And but then on the flip side of the conversations that are going on, Kozuki Sukiyaki, who had thought to have been dead, he came up in the 1053, and he's been talking with Robin and stuff, but now they're going deeper into Wano, and they're taking Law with them too. So Law's finding out more about, the history of what's been going on. And as it turns out, there is an older Wano. The Wano of right now is a newer Wano, and the Wano of old is from 800 years ago, which means that this thing probably existed. This Wano that's underwater would have existed during the Void Century. And Sukiyaki cryptically points out that to tear down the walls of Wano, or opening up the country, which is what Oden was trying to do, would release Pluton. And as Matthew, I think you can probably explain it better than I can about the significance of Pluton, right?
Well, yeah, Pluton is one of the 3 ancient weapons, and we know 2 of the 3. One of them is Pluton. It's this ancient, I think they call it a ship,
right?
But
Sure.
the shipwrights of what was the galley company?
Galila, yeah.
Yeah, those shipwrights were passed down the blueprints to Pluton. And Frankie was the last one to have gotten it from who was Roger's shipwright?
Iceberg.
Yeah, from
Iceberg had the
Iceberg, and
blueprint.
he torched those.
Right.
But he might still have those, being that he's a cyborg. He might have actually copied those in his head.
Right.
But so there's that one. Then Poseidon is the power of a mermaid to control the
I think the Sea Kings.
The Sea Kings, and the current incarnation of Poseidon is Shirahoshi. And then you've got Neptune.
Well, no, Uranus is the.
It was Uranus. I'm getting my my planet.
Neptune is the king of the fish.
Yeah. Then you've got Uranus, which is an unknown, which I still think was located on God Valley.
Anyway, but yeah,
either that or it might be the One Piece.
Right, but it's confirmed that Pluton is in Wano, which is why Kaido had been sitting there for the past 20 some odd years, because he wanted to get Pluton, but because he didn't have all of the access, he could not find it. But so the fact of the matter is that there's a buried city, and that the current Wano, somehow the walls were built up so that's why Wano, as we know it, is above the ocean, in this, unusual type of landscape and all that. So where do they go from there? And I think, and then Robin has found the I think the red poneglyph. The road poneglyph that she needs. So this,
3 down, 1 to go.
Interesting times ahead.
We need to find which one is where the last one is.
Yeah, where the last one is. Now, what's not to say that Blackbeard's not in control of it?
Probably.
I mean, because you had, now, one thing, this is kind of off topic, but I'm wondering what's going to happen with the Charlotte Pirates, or the Big Mom Pirates, now that Big Mom has been taken out. It's going to be an interesting ride.
Well, let's see. They're still in charge of what?
Totoland.
Yeah, they're still in charge of Totoland, so I guess right now they kind of function similar to how the Whitebeard pirates without Whitebeard function, which is that they're just holding on to territory. Though, and like I said, the only one that they have a confirmed hold on is Totoland.
So
they are still an entity. It's just a matter of how
powerful they are.
Yeah.
So, to close out the chapter, it looks like Momonosuke ends up unlocking some powers of his own thanks to his Dragon Devil Fruit. And one of the things he does is the, in English, they're calling it the Bolo Breath, but it's basically that big fireball that Kaido unleashed, when he took out that castle that one time. But Momonosuke is able to use it too when he's fighting Green Bull. Although Green Bull still manages to, hold his own, and he sprouts up thanks to, not being taken out entirely. So he's ready to, finish off Momonosuke in the Akazaya 9. But, Matthew, what does he feel coming from the ocean?
He feels Conqueror's Haki.
And it's not a normal Conqueror's Haki, right?
Nope.
And the fact that he can feel it from so far away.
Like, who knows how many miles.
Right. How many miles away? And so who is it? It's red-haired Shanks. And so red-haired Shanks, like he always does, somehow will interrupt history in the making to some extent. You know, it's this weird thing about Shanks where he's able to influence history just by being in a certain place at a certain time, right?
Yep.
I mean, because if you think about it, you know, because when he appeared at Marineford, the fact that he prevented Kobe from being killed by Akainu, and also Luffy from being killed off as well, that totally changed history. So, you know what? You know, Shanks plays this really significant role here and there.
Oh,
And now,
speaking of Sakazuki, I think it was in I think it was in chapter 1054, but you know, Sakazuki was talking about all these things, and he's speaking with Kizaru.
Right.
And I think some people have pointed this out, but basically the only positive relationship we have seen with anybody that almost resembles friendship is with when it comes to Sakazuki is Kizaru.
Yeah.
That's the only person who he has a somewhat positive relationship with. He didn't want Green Bull going to Wano, and he disobeyed him, and he's, you know...
And he's like, you know, Fujitora's...
He's not on good terms with
Fujitora
right now, because Fujitora let
Isho
Luffy get away, and then, you know, called him out on his fragile honor.
So here's the thing I found. So Green Bull has given up trying to take out Luffy. So that means that, hey, we're going on a new journey. It also looks like...
and it's funny because it's when, you know, he could tell that he and Shanks were able to communicate, and he's like, I have no quarrel with you. Mm-hmm. And Shanks is like, leave and I'll turn it off.
Right. So that's how Green Bull gives up the fight there.
Oh yeah, also the fact that what people are referring to as the Monster Quartet were overseeing the whole thing.
Yeah. So now instead of it being the Monster Trio, it looks like now we are it's the Monster Quartet now, because Jinbei was ready to fight, you know, with Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro. So I think it's now the Monster Quartet now. But I think one thing that does seem to be confirmed, not officially, but it does look like it's going to be confirmed that, you know, Yamato, I think, looks like Yamato is going to be joining the crew. Since Momonosuke wants her to go out with Luffy. And so looks like this is going to be a mirror action of Oden joining the Roger Pirates. I'm still hopeful that Carrot will join as the lookout, because I think one of the things I've seen in you know, these theory videos, what would go for Carrot is that I think rabbits have good eyesight. I think.
Yes, because they literally eat carrots all day.
Right. So yeah, that would be, you know, the case for at least Carrot to go out. And plus she would be carrying on Pedro's will. And then I can understand now where Yamato, she would be carrying on Oden's will. And I guess, well, because Navi's a navigator, and, you know, I guess Oden, you know, because he kept his journal, so he was keeping logs. What would that position be specifically?
That would be the log keeper.
Right. I'll have to see what the translation. Let's see if there's a what Google's translation for log keeper is, and Log keeper. Of course, it just translates to logu keeper. That's not necessarily logu. Okay, so obviously that's not what that means. Anyway, so it does look like Yamato is going to be joining because Momonosuke is telling her to go out with, the Straw Hats, and she's free from her father Kaido. So I think that's where we're at. But,
that does go into, Luffy's theme of freedom.
Right. Yeah. I think all in all, though, I think Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Jinbei, they were ready to go if worst came to worst. So it's not like they were going to be completely caught off guard. And they probably were, at least Sanji was ready to try and take out an admiral. So I don't think that Rokugyu would have given them too much trouble, it seems.
Yeah, the way that the admiral's powers work right now, I'd like it. It depends on who would be considered weaker, Kizaru or Rokugyu, but I would say the weakest of the three, as it stands right now, is probably Rokugyu.
Yeah.
Especially if he doesn't utilize. Well, you have to have hockey.
Well, yeah, he does have hockey because to be an admiral, you have to have hockey.
Yeah, but in most cases, I think they probably have armament. From what I've seen, I don't think any of them have.
Let's see if maybe. Let's see.
I haven't seen any evidence that any of them have anything more than armament. Maybe so observation.
He is confirmed to have Busoshoku and so armament and observation. So he does have two armament and observation.
Wait, right, Fujitora, because he functions off of.
Well, no, I'm looking at Rokugyu right now.
Oh. Well, Fujitora has to have observation because that's
he has both functions. Because I think, well, yeah, he's got to have observation just because of his condition, and yeah, he does have both. But he was using armament during the Dressrosa. So yeah, he's all good with that. And I know we did see Kizaru using armament, and I mean he's got to have observation just because of his being able to detect people. So, but I don't think there are none of the in fact, who knows? Well, I don't even know what admirals would have Conqueror's hockey.
From what I've seen, I don't think any of them have Conquerors.
Yeah, Haoshoku.
Well, we're not even sure that. Wait, do we know if Garp has Conquerors?
Okay, so I'm looking at the thing right now. So there is one confirmed admiral who had Haoshoku, and that was Sengoku. So he's actually still around, but he's no longer an admiral because he's a what is that, inspector general or something like that now.
Yeah.
But he's still a Marine, so but he's kind of an observer in the fight now. So, but everyone
like
else
Garp.
is. I'm sorry.
Kind of like Garp.
Right. Yeah, Garp's kind of sitting back too. You know, he's a trainer now. But yeah, in the case of Sengoku, he's just he's kind of observing things, and he's the guy who kind of provides some some insight into the world of old. Yep. So yeah, that's our One Piece segment. Big stuff.
Did we talk about how with Kaido and Big Mom's being dropped, that all of the Rock's pirates have been dropped essentially?
Well, that's hard to say because they may or may not be out. Well, obviously, those three that went on to become the Yonko. But Golden Lion Shiki is still out there somewhere. And, a couple of the other names that were mentioned. We don't know what specifically happened to them all, but at least those three, yes, they've been defeated.
And one of them's confirmed dead.
Yes. But we haven't seen the last of the Rocks Pirates. Not yet. And the name Rocks D. Zebek really still carries a lot of weight.
Well, if we want to be technical about it, I mean, there's part of Rock's legacy still around with Blackbeard.
Uh-huh.
But right now, the legacy is essentially Roger. Because two of the three were directly from his crew, and one of them was inspired by his crew member, and him directly. So,
yeah. So it'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see when Oda actually brings Zebek out into the light. See how.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see one more flashback, and it's gonna be the Battle of God Valley.
At least major flashbacks. So now the question is, well, which island do they hit next? Also, kind of an interesting thing that
which I do admit, I might be wrong about Elbaf, but I personally don't think we'll see it.
So one interesting thing, because they got the new movie coming out, One Piece Red, and it's basically a Shanks central movie. Now, here's the interesting thing. So apparently, in the movie setting, Shanks does have a daughter. However, because it's a movie, she is supposedly considered non-canonical. But if you notice, now I was kind of interested about this because remember when Shanks was telling Green Bull, "Why are you so afraid of the future?" And he was seeing these flashbacks with all these different people when they were younger. In the first panel, you saw Luffy after he had cut himself with the knife, and Shanks was trying to console him. And then you saw Momonosuke and Hiyori. And then I saw in the last panel on the left, there was this figure that was kind of shadowed. And I'm thinking, obviously, that's kind of a hint from Oda about a specific figure, a certain character.
Yeah, but supposedly it's his daughter.
Right, supposedly, at least according to the One Piece wiki, that it's his daughter. Now, obviously the wiki, but the wiki though is saying that she's non-canonical. So, we'll see. We'll see if Golden Lion Shiki became canonical because of once Rocks D. Zebek and the Rocks Pirates came up, he became canonical. Although I think Chapter 0 already established him as a canonical character.
Yeah, what is not canonical is the movie that his interaction with the Straw Hats.
I think it was Strong World was the name of that.
His present interaction in Strong World is not canon.